so what we're going to do is we're going to start off talking about a few things, and we'll open it up to questions because this is an extremely broad topic. But even though this is called Ninjas for the Win, this is really about role-playing games and that have Asian themes in them. So first of all, I wanted to, with a lot of panels that I've done before, I try to get to commonly asked questions or things that always come up right off the bat first. And so one of those is the idea of honor. Okay, in a lot of starting way back with advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Gary Gygax came up with a source book, a really good source book called Oriental Adventures. And in it, there was this system of honor. And you might be aware of this already, but what you could do is you had a certain number of honor points. And it had a list of activities that you could do to increase or decrease your honor. And then if your honor ever got reduced to 0, it said your character has lost all honor and they commit seppuku, and then they commit suicide. And the thing about being Advanced Dungeons and Dragons or Dungeons and Dragons in general is that it's so idiosyncratic that people would take these ideas and then just run away with them. And so that honor system, it really grabbed people for a number of reasons. For one, remember this is kind of the early days of role-playing. This introduced a role-playing concept as a mechanic in a game, right? Hey, you have to act this way, and if you don't, there are consequences. And we'll even keep track of the number. Hey, you can actually lose your character for role-playing the wrong way. So I think that created a wide appeal, and people were really drawn to it. And so in role-playing games in general, when you have role-playing games with Asian themes, the idea of honor becomes really, really important. So let's clarify some things about how honor works when you have them in an Asian themed game. Oh, before we do that, let's also introduce ourselves and.
I just didn't want to interrupt you.
And why we might know something about that. So Eloy, why would you know something about Asian games?
So I'm Eloy Lasanta, and I am the owner and operator of Third Eye Games. One of our several game lines that we release is one called the Ninja Crusade, which actually uses a lot of these Asian themes of honor and whatnot. But you actually play as ninja, fighting against an evil empire and all that stuff, and it's really fun. So that would be the thing that I think qualifies me for this panel, even though I do more than that.
Okay. So my name is Rucht Lilavivat. I'm the director of tabletop panels here at DragonCon. I have designed on and off since 1999. I've been director of gaming panels here at DragonCon for 6 years. I've won numerous awards as a game master. So I have some experience in the realm of role playing, things like that. And I've also been to China multiple times and all over Southeast Asia. So now that we have gotten that out of the way, let me explain how honor is perceived in the Eastern world, at least in terms of Chinese and Japanese culture, because it's different in every nation. So, for example, honor for the Chinese would be better described as what I would call face. That's the term I would use. In fact, there was a game that was canceled that was going to be called Mask of the Jade Horror, which was going to be an 1890s Victorian smoky opium den game set primarily in Hong Kong. It was going to be a horror game. It was going to be really cool, but unfortunately that game got canceled. But one of the things I was going to introduce into that game was called face, not honor. And the reason it's better termed in face as terms of Chinese culture is that your status, how you perceived by society, is all about appearances. Okay, so you could be an extremely corrupt individual that takes money under the table, cheats on their wife all the time or whatever, but yet if you maintain this front of being honest, upright, and upstanding, everybody kind of ignores all the bad stuff that you do. Okay, that's still true today in a lot of countries in Asia, right? There's unfortunately, a lot of like rich businessmen that have mistresses on the side, but nobody talks about it, right? It's just sort of understood, oh, okay, well, you're gonna have a mistress or two. Now, they don't take their mistresses out in public, they don't parade them around or anything like that. But if they notice, oh, I noticed so-and-so having lunch with so-and-so, okay, they just sort of ignore that, okay? So there's this idea of face. You have to appear a certain way. You have to act honorable. You have to act upright and forthright. But behind the scenes, you're kind of allowed to do whatever you want to do. Now, here's the problem. If your bad laundry gets aired, then it's over. You've lost face, right? That's what we call it here, and it's sort of like what they say over there. You're in trouble. You can easily lose that, because not only does it stain your personal honor, it stains your family's honor. So your son, who is perhaps an upright person who doesn't do anything bad, his reputation gets dragged in the mud. Your daughter, their reputation gets dragged in the mud. It affects your whole family. So that's what I wanted to clarify about honor and face, because a lot of people, when I played Asian games before, and when I was designing Master of the Jade Order, I had a lot of designers come in and they believe that, okay, this is honor, and you have to act this way and do this thing. I'm like, whoa, actually, it's not quite like being a paladin in D&D. A paladin in D&D has to be good all the time, right? Even if they do something in private that's bad, your god frowns on you and you lose powers. That's not how it is in Chinese and Japanese culture. You can kind of be corrupt behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people think that it's it's a light side, dark side kind of battle thing, and that's what honor is, but it's not really. Like, if the honorable thing is for you to go and get revenge and murder that person, because you have to try and save face for your family, he dishonored my family, I have to go kill him now. Otherwise, I lose honor because I didn't attempt, at least, to, take that person's life. So it's definitely not a paladin thing, because you know how we all play paladins, oh, you're gonna torture? Let me step out of the room real quick. So it's definitely not like that. So it is very much more of the, almost kind of I will go to any lengths in order to get my honor back. And sometimes that can mean very, very terrible acts in the process.
Another thing I wanted to clear up about honor is that when I was designing that game, we had a lot of designers come in. I had this one designer come in, and he's like, okay, I got this cool game mechanic. You can swear this oath, and you'll get these cool abilities. So the oath locks you into a certain behavior, and you get these cool abilities. And I'm like, well, to explain, Chinese people would never oath something. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, let me give you an example of an exchange between a Chinese and somebody from China and somebody from the Western world. So the Chinese person goes to the Westerner and says, what's an oath? Oh, it's a promise that you're going to do something. Oh, okay, says the Chinese person. So if, that's bad. The Chinese person says, oh, okay, so if you say something in Western culture, you don't have to do it. No, says the Westerner. A promise means you're especially going to do it. And the Chinese person goes, wait, I don't get it. So if you don't oath, do you have to do it or not? And the Westerners go, well, yeah, pretty much. Well, then, what's an oath? I don't. So for the Chinese people, and this also applies to Japanese culture, when you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. Consider everything you say an oath. And so that's why you have certain Asian cultures where people don't promise anything. Like, hey, do you want to go to the movies? I don't know, that sounds like a good idea, movies. I like movies. That could be good. Movie. So you get a lot of that Japanese culture where people don't commit to anything. They kind of warm up to it. Because if they say they're going to the movie, they're going. It doesn't matter what comes up. Oh, they've already said it, right? Chinese culture as well. But what's funny about Chinese culture is the Chinese are just blunt. So what will happen is you'll have the older, like your mom or dad or somebody older than you, come in and say, hey, you're going to go do that thing that I want you to do, right? Yes, you are going to do it, right? Yes, okay, yes, I'm going to do it. And then the younger person, and this ties into confusion of it as well, the young person is now locked into doing that. They said they were going to do it. They can't shirk it off their duties, because if they shirk their duties, they lose face. And depending on what was asked for, who asked for it, that's when you can lose a lot of face, right?
I would also point out that honor is not being polite. It is not chivalry, because in a lot of Asian cultures, like pleases and thank yous are actually kind of insulting. So to say please too many times, it's just like, wait a minute, are we not friends? Why are you being so polite to me? So it is kind of that thing. Like, it's not about politeness. It's all about your actions.
Yep, absolutely. So so now that we've got that, now that we've kind of explored that a little bit.
So oaths real quick. So if we go to Japanese, like samurai, for instance, like samurai make an oath to the emperor.
Yes.
Which is, I don't know. I guess I don't know how the oath works in that standpoint, but it's more of like, I have devoted now my life to you. Not like, hey, I promise to, kind of do what you say. It's just like, oh no, like, I am yours now.
Right.
And that's also something. Then it's just like, well, now I'm supposed to do what this person says. Now if I don't, then I lose honor. Like, that's just, that's why you end up having a lot of people who are like, well, I can't not do what the emperor said, but I can't do this thing because it affects me personally. So I'll just kill myself.
Right.
Like, because I can't choose. I'm just going to remove myself from the equation, and then it's done. And that's where a lot of the seppuku ends up coming into play.
We have you know what? Let's make this a little bit, since we have a smaller crowd, we can go back for a little bit. You have a quick comment back there?
You just said, or become a ronin. The term came before a masterless samurai, now to no honor and following no, which plays into what you said about lack of honor, which is when everyone says, if you're a ronin, you have no honor.
Right.
Yep.
But being a ronin is dishonorable, and it depends on the person and whether they can deal with living that kind of life. So.
All right. Let's take 2 more comments, and then we're going to move on to our next topic, and then I will open it. Well, don't worry, we will open it up to all Q&A 100%. So, back there.
So it's more about following the politics of polite society?
I would say yes. It's much more about following the politics of polite society. That's a great way to put it.
Actually, you do yours. Mine was just
I was just wondering, like, how would other parts of an Asian culture look at a masterless samurai or something? How would they perceive it? Yeah.
You want to take that first?
Well, I mean, it's actually kind of what he said. So they're ronin. If you are a masterless samurai, you can't be a masterless samurai unless you once had one. Which means if you no longer have one, you did something dishonorable. So immediately your reputation is crap. It's in the garbage.
So the character I'm trying to portray is would he be perpetually trying to seek to gain back his honor, sort of?
No, it depends.
No, because in that kind of case, once it's basically as soon as you are a ronin, you've severed ties. Then at that point, there's no way to get that back. At this point, it's you're just trying to continue living as good a life as you can with no honor. Or you might, make up a new life, go change your name, and try and erase your past and just become a brand new person.
Because anybody who would take on that samurai would impinge their honor. But now here's the thing, here's where it depends. That person may not care. There are people in society that don't care about etiquette, right? Even here, that same in Asia. There are people who are I don't care. I don't care, whatever. And then there might be a master or somebody who doesn't care either. Well, I don't care, whatever, fine, you can work for me. It might impinge my honor a little bit, I don't care. And then there's a lot of nuance. Then there's people who are so powerful, that have so much prestige. And so that's why I'm trying to avoid their use of honor, because I think there are better terms for it.
Yeah.
They have so much prestige. They're like, yes, this master of the samurai, he works for me now. And everyone's like, what? Yeah. What are you going to do about it, peeps?
Yeah, they might end up being bodyguards, mercenaries, things like that. But even those kind of things are very lower positions, whereas a samurai is pinnacle warrior class. You're just lower than a nobleman. It's kind of crazy.
So it'd be he used to be at that level, but now he's just a mercenary or something.
Yeah. That's up.
And also, again, how he sees himself will depend on how much value he puts on those things.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next topic, and then we will definitely get to.
Which one was the next one?
Okay, so, is it important to be historically accurate when we play these games?
So, historically accurate. Well, okay. So in my game, I kind of skipped all of that and just made it a fictional world anyway. So because I didn't want to have that stigma of getting something wrong with being historically accurate. I would say that if your plan is to be historically accurate, though, yeah, it's pretty important to at least be mostly. But I mean, you can look at other things like Vikings never wore helmets with horns on their heads, but that's how we see Vikings. Like, they never did that. That's not a thing. If you thought it was, it's not. All right. So, but that's how we view Vikings in our media, is that they're these big guys wearing furs with axes and horns on their heads. So it's kind of that thing. It's like sometimes you can play into kind of the stereotype of what is supposed to be going on and what these people are supposed to be. And it's perfectly acceptable to do that as long as it then doesn't become a farce, I believe. But if you're going for historically accurate, there's actually a really cool game out there called Tibet the RPG. And it is like 100%. This is what it's like to live in Tibet. This is how the people in Tibet greet each other. These are all their customs. It's really awesome. That's actually where I learned that this is how a Tibetan person says hello. This is really funny. And exactly, it's really funny. But over there, like, if you don't do that, you're rude. You know, it's like so. But yeah, that game is one of those really good examples of how to do a historically accurate Asian-themed game. But no, that's not always necessary. Sometimes you can kind of borrow themes and use them in your game without being insulting, or without without it being an approach almost akin to Orientalism.
So yeah, let me talk about that real quick. Because a lot of times in Asian themed gaming, people kind of blend Japanese and Chinese culture together, okay? And about how you should feel about that, how you can perceive it, and then we're also going to do another panel on cultural sensitivity in gaming.
Yeah.
Does anyone here not know the game Soul Calibur? You don't know what I'm talking about when I say Soul Calibur. Okay.
Good.
So in Soul Calibur, there's a character in there who's European, and is he French?
Which guy?
The guy with the rapier, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, Raphael. Okay, he's Spanish. Okay, but he has an Italian name. And then if you watch the cutscenes with him, like, they're clearly wearing like French uniforms. So like, what's happening over there is the people in Japan, they're like, they all look the same, you know? He's wearing some kind of vaguely European, 18th century costume. Yeah, that looks good, whatever. Do you care? Are you insulted?
No.
Okay, same thing. So there's no role-playing police that's going to show up at your house if you blend cultures a little bit, that's going to say you're doing it wrong. At the same time, I think I like what you said. You don't want it to become a farce.
Right.
Because that can go to a really dark place.
Yes.
So as long as there's that fine line where you don't make it a farce, I think it's okay. Because no one is sitting in China and Japan like shaking their heads at you. They could really care less. They got other things going on.
Now, I actually did have, when Ninja Crusade first came out, I had some guy send me just a scathing Facebook message, and he was just like, "You're mixing the idea of ninja clans and Chinese martial arts families, and you're ruining this whole thing, and this is just insulting and all that." And then I was just like, I don't know, did you read the game? And then he wrote me back like a couple of months later, and he was just like, "Yeah, sorry about that. I just realized I was just insulted for like just no reason, And it's like, and it's like it's that sort of thing. It's just like a lot of people will just latch onto something and just with such intense hatred, but they're really the only one insulted by that thing."
Okay, so we've covered those two big topics.
Yeah.
Do you want to tackle the bear, or do you want to save that for the end?
The bear. Well, you had a third one, and then I had a fourth one.
No, I think we're good. Do you want to do the fourth one now, or do you want to?
We can do the fourth one.
All right.
So
let's talk about that.
So I have a personal pet peeve about cultural appropriation, and that happens a lot with Asian things, and not really even so much anymore. But it was a big thing in the 70s, where it was like. My biggest example would be Iron Fist. So Iron Fist, yes. So he's this this blonde hair, blue-eyed guy who went to China and became a better martial artist than any other martial artist out there. Even though even though these other characters, so then he comes back and he is like the martial artist character, and then of course he's hanging out with the blaxploitation guy, the Power Man. So I mean, it was a big deal back then that they were appropriating martial arts into American culture at that time. But I don't think it's even stopped since then. There's actually a petition out there right now to make Iron Fist of Asian descent in the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now. Because I think that they're realizing that there is a certain line there where it does kind of become farce. Like everything gets whitewashed for a large portion of our media in America, I think. You know what? I don't even know where I was going with that topic, but just that it pisses me off. It's just like.
No, this is the place to talk about it. All right, so now let's open it up to Q&A.
Yeah.
So back in the back. All right, go ahead. Yeah.
Go for it.
Yes.
Okay, I was just gonna mention, I'm pretty sure in the Spider-Man cartoon series he's Asian. So I don't know.
Which cartoon series is
the
alive?
Ultimate Spider-Man?
Yeah.
No, in Ultimate Spider-Man, he's actually a young, surfer kid, blonde hair, blue-eyed, and he's just like, oh, you just have to work on your ki, man. It's like, yeah, it's just like, it's really silly. But that cartoon specifically, though, is supposed to be humor. Like, that's a funny cartoon. It's not supposed to take itself seriously. So I guess I can kind of accept that. And I actually like Iron Fist. As a character, but it's just like every time I read the comic or every time I see him in a cartoon or whatever, just like in the back of my brain, I'm just like, I just hate it.
All right, yep, in the back.
I was gonna ask you, you said that it pissed you off that they were trying to change him to Asian, or that he was white?
No, the cultural appropriation of Asian culture from a white person, yes.
But I read the original comic.
Yes.
It wasn't so much that, so he did train in a mystical Kung Fu city. Let's start off with that. It's already a magical Kung Fu city, which goes with what you were saying. One, he was found by them because his parents died. So right there, the only thing I have
Right, so there were lots of reasons why you could say that this works.
It worked for me because I literally decided, I was like, kid has nowhere else to go. He gets picked up by these people out of kindness and just gets taught Kung Fu as it goes on in life. At that point, I looked at it in a sense of nurture. He was nurtured to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, you're right. Maybe it would be better if he was of Asian descent. I wouldn't be having a problem with it either way. But also, you can't really ignore these circumstances and go, he's white, he can't really know Kung Fu. But that's not really true.
Well,
No, that's not. That's not the issue for me. That's not the issue for me. The issue for me is, hey, there's this blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy, long hair, all that kind of stuff, and he's the ultimate ass kicker in Kung Fu ever. And nobody in China can even come close to touch him. Not even close. Like, forget it. That to me was like, when I was a kid growing up and reading that same comic, that was insulting to me. That literally, it was like, do you guys know the controversy about Bruce Lee in the Kung Fu TV series?
Yes.
It was like that.
Yeah.
It was like, so Marvel, you couldn't take a risk. You couldn't,
Well, and that's why I think a lot of people even today are that's why that petition's out there, because they're like, hey, maybe we should go ahead and not have this character be this way anymore and make him probably closer to the way that he should have been. And my problem is not that a white person knows martial arts.
Right.
And as a storyteller, yes, you can justify anything with writing the right story. But I don't know, it just irks me. It hits me the wrong way, in my opinion.
All right. And the Richard?
Richard.
It's important to mention in the context of the Iron Fist that it's a hereditary title, and that the previous Iron Fist was also Caucasian.
That is interesting.
I mean, they have previous Iron Fist shown throughout. They get one comic, and many of them are Chinese, and some of them are even female. But I mean, the entire modern UFA features a Caucasian Iron Fist.
Yeah.
From America.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
American.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Over
But
here.
it's-
First
and
off,
then
not
you're
to be
next.
pedantic, sir, but the Iron Fist title is not hereditary. You always have to beat the dragon. The fact that his father beat the dragon is
See what I did with that? See what I did with that?
But,
Yeah,
but before we go too deep down this hole, I think one of the things that's always interested me about the honor system, especially the Oriental Adventure honor system, is that it's sort of placed externally of the rest of the world. Like, it's just another set of rules for you to follow. But a lot of kind of these cultural ideas, especially as we're talking about how people view face, is that it's really, it's not just like this sort of separate system, but it's intrinsically tied to a whole culture. And then how do you how do you create something that's not just like, okay, these are the do's and don'ts, but an accurate representation of like kind of the psychology, the social mores of the culture? Because like otherwise, I've seen a lot of like games set in Asian environments that just turn into, you know, it's the same sort of like Western code of chivalry.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of narrative structure that like follows conventional like Western narratives. It's just like, you know, with like a different sense of architecture and different like, you know, swap out the thief class for the ninja class. But it seems it's more like you have to really understand how a sense of like social or moral obligation works, and that's how do you do that effectively without just being like really authentically conveying a culture in that way?
Okay, so what I would say is, first of all, you got to think about when you design a game or play a game or whatever, you need to think about what you want out of it. When I've done a lot of historical gaming and a lot of historical game design and researched a lot about history and etiquette, that sort of thing. So there's the kind of gaming where you want to have fun and you don't really care about the historical details and that sort of thing, and that's one thing, okay? Where we're just going to have fun, you're going to have ninjas, you're going to have samurai, and we're going to have these few things, and we're just going to be laid back about it, and just make sure it doesn't come to a farce. The second thing is, if you want to do hardcore historical gaming, the appeal of hardcore historical gaming, like let's say Victorian society or gaming, is that you and the players are going to enter this other world where the rules are different, and the fun of the game is that you have to abide by these weird ass rules. So like, let's say this was in the Victorian era. Okay, well you can't wear pants, ladies. You have to wear a dress. You cannot go unaccompanied by a male. That's weird. So weird. Yeah, I know it's weird. So what you're talking about when I hear historical accuracy, what you're really looking for is a transportation to another world, where the rules and the things that you have to abide by are strange and different, and that's the fun of the game, is to try to immerse yourself in this other world where everything operates differently. And so that's, what I would say is you have to keep that in mind. So if you're not 100% accurate, that's okay, as long as you get that feeling of, okay, well, things are different. Like, a great example, here's a really great example of what I'm talking about. I had, was playing an Asian game, the characters walk up to the gate of a village, and I had the typical surly village guards, like, what do you want? Well, it's late at night, why did you raise it? And then I realized, I'm like, stop, I'm sorry, you're samurai, that's right, never mind. They are very nice to you. They bow their heads. Oh, you've come into our town. Thank you for coming. Please, here's the door. Can we get in? So what was cool about that was that moment, the players like really responded. Whoa, this is different.
Yeah.
Everyone's nice to us. We go to the inn, we don't have to pay for anything. No. The innkeeper's like, no, please, come. Here's a room. And they kick out their son so that you have a room, that kind of thing. Their son's sleeping on the floor. And then again, the players were like, whoa. So that's what you're going for, right? If it's not 100% accurate, it's okay, just as long as you get that alien, different Alice in Wonderland feel.
Right. I would also say, do people here, you guys know the White Wolf games, the old White Wolf, old War of the Darkness games? So there was a game called Kindred of the East, which is it's actually one of my favorite games from a setting standpoint. Like, I kind of enjoyed everything. But if you look at the game objectively, it was a terrible expression of Orientalism. Like, they just mixed everything and they didn't care. They were just in an Asian stuff is cool kind of mindset. And that's kind of then the opposite of what I said with us appropriating their stuff, where then it's the opposite, where then we look at their stuff and there's like, oh, everything's really just way cooler over there. So It's don't do either of those things. Is basically what I'm saying.
All right, up here.
It was the red shirt actually.
Oh, okay.
I was, it's okay. My comment was from like 5 minutes ago, so.
Okay.
I had a question about honor.
Sure.
You mentioned earlier how honor can mention, like, you know, if your honor demands that you go and seek revenge for your family, and that is what you must do. In the case of, I guess, competing goals over honor, where I must go and kill this man, you know, he ruined my family business. I must go kill this man, he, you know, killed my family. Which one of them would be more in the right? Or are they both in the wrong? Or are they both right?
I'm pretty sure that any smudge to your honor is pretty equally, but it basically depends on how many people are gonna know. But I've read tales of people who were cheated, so it was important for their honor to go and hunt down the person who cheated them and get their money back. And they left and didn't see their family for 3 years while they were on this adventure trying to find this person who cheated them. And that should give you an indication of how important honor is to somebody, that they will ignore their family in order to make sure that they keep it.
I also want to point out some nuance there, though. Okay, let's say somebody impinges your honor. It depends on your position, your prestige, because you can use your prestige and your face to destroy them without using a weapon. For example, Johnny cheated me. Everyone, I want you to know something. Johnny's a liar, and he's a cheat. Do not deal with him. Johnny loses tremendous amount of face, a tremendous amount of prestige, and you've ruined him, and you didn't have to do anything because of your position in society. So that's especially huge in Chinese culture, right? If you are the top dog, a couple sentences, a couple words can destroy someone. And that's what's interesting about Chinese culture, is that's where Chinese women can often have a tremendous amount of power. Because while, according to society's rules, ancient Chinese women could not do too much, a lot of them commanded a very powerful bully pulpit, right? Let's say like you're in a family, dad dies, you're now the head of the family. Well, as the head of the family, you can do all kinds of stuff. You can shame someone, you can tell one of your sons to go do blah. You can, and remember I was telling you about in China, you can say something, you can tell somebody, hey, are you gonna do this? Or you can keep bugging them until they say they're gonna do it. And then they have to go and do it, right? Because the idea of an oath doesn't really exist. If you say you're gonna do it, you better go do it. So that's how women in Chinese society can command a tremendous amount of power, because they have that bully pulpit. And frankly, just because Chinese people tend to be really aggressive, and they like to jockey for power and position, that can happen too. Back in the back there.
A question regarding honor. So if a samurai goes against his noble lord, his dishonored, he becomes ruined. What if your noble lord dies somehow, illness, or gets taken away by another clan, something along those lines? Would that samurai be dishonored?
No. It's you're only dishonored if you're masterless due to something that you did. Because what would end up happening is the new leader would come in, and then you would be like, okay, well now I'm your samurai now, because samurai serve the daimyo or the emperor or whatever. Like, that's who they serve. If the daimyo is replaced, you serve the daimyo, whoever the daimyo is.
Okay, over here.
So you were talking about face, and it just seems it would be difficult to implement as a game mechanic, because it seems like you either have face or you don't. You can't really do, like you were talking about that Gary Gygax system before, where it was points and you lose points. That doesn't seem like it would work in a really accurate way.
No, you can do that.
Yeah.
Prestige, reputation. These are other terms that you can use. Like, there's lots of games that have like a reputation system, and that actually would work really well in place of a quote unquote honor system.
Yeah, no, it could totally work. But imagine a system where you had like a lot of, let's say a reputation system, right? Where you have a ton of points. You could go, you know what? I'm gonna lose some reputation for this, but I don't care, because I have so much. And that would actually be a very accurate representation, because there are people that have so much prestige, they can afford to do a few things that are kind of sketchy, and what's interesting about that too, they force people to ignore it, right? If you have enough prestige and you do something sketchy, people just have to pretend like you didn't do it.
I think that's a good distinction, because I wouldn't say that face or honor or anything would be like the humanity scale in White Wolf. It's not a scale.
Yeah.
It is more like a pool of points that you would then, I'll spend to make that person be quiet, or I'll spend to shame that person, and it wouldn't be like a scale of it. It would be an amount.
Yes?
As opposed to in Vampire with Humanity, Werewolf had a system of renown and rank, which was mostly analogous. That may also be why I think the Werewolf Year of the Lotus went over a little better than Kindred of the East, because the Guru and Farah are already so hidebound and traditional that even the most extreme Neo-Confucianist bound is really like, hey, take it down a notch.
I'm a fan of the Hikayo guy. Just saying.
All right, okay, there we go, yep.
To kind of get off honor for a second, what is religion like in like an Eastern setting? And I guess to put a finer kind of point on it, what would it be like to have a paladin or like a cleric in an Eastern kind of setting?
Okay, all right. I'm gonna try to keep this short, because I could go on for an hour.
I was gonna say, that's a big question right
That's
there.
a big question.
Especially
All
if we go from China into Japan and all that stuff.
Okay, so, first of all, there's a lot of different religions we could talk about. Jeez, you talk about Buddhism, Hinduism,
Shintoism, Confucianism,
God,
Taoism.
Okay, let's try to refine your question, because that could be an hour right there. Give me an example of what you're talking about.
Well, I guess you picture like a paladin from D&D, and you have this notion of he has his one god, he goes off and quests to defend that god. But it kind of, my understanding of the religions that are more out east, doesn't seem like that would be the case necessarily.
So, okay, Mulan.
Okay.
Mulan is actually a very good example of what you might be thinking of. She's a warrior, and she's fighting for her family's honor, and who is behind her? Her family ancestors. They're the ones, so she's not fighting for her god, she's fighting for her family ancestors, which a lot of the religions in Asian culture are basically ancestor worship, where they venerate the people who have come before them, not necessarily any person, any deity. Thank you. That's
I
the
can't
word I was
click
looking
like
for.
on this post enough. Keep going.
So I think Mulan is actually a very good example of that. She even has like the little dragon, which is like her holy symbol that follows her around and stuff.
So yes, a lot of religions in Asia boil down to ancestor worship. That's a great example. That's a really quick answer to that.
I think
extremely long.
I think Shintoism is probably the like where they venerate the spirit of all of the inanimate objects and stuff like that. So they're slightly different, but even they do also ancestor worship in addition to that stuff. So yes.
Okay, over here.
My question was kind of similar to that. Like, basically, if you kind of make it a cultural melting pot or anything like that, like in the Oriental Adventures of character, it was like an animistic, animism society with like a lot of focus on pleasing the spirits and stuff. So how would you, like, do you think that there's like a way to have, like, that face or honor system between individuals? But what about like having not necessarily a system, but what do you think are the pleasing spirits and like not offending spirits, things like that? How would you incorporate that into the game?
Okay, so I'm really glad you brought that up. That's a great comment to jump off the religion one. What something you have to understand about Asian culture is that most Asian cultures, I'm trying to think of one that's really not. Most Asian cultures are extremely superstitious. Like extremely. To give you an example, okay, in Thailand, about 90% of all births are by C-section. And the reason being is because before your baby's born, you go to a fortune teller. The fortune teller tells you what time of day it's most auspicious for your baby to be born. The doctors can even time your birth down to the minute. Oh, you want your baby to be born at 3:06? Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's today. It's 2015. So you have to understand that most Asian cultures are extremely superstitious. Spirits, ghosts, all that, they're real, right? My uncle, who is an executive of the Hong Kong Bank, it's bad luck to have a door. It's bad luck to have a passage that goes all the way through your house, because then if good luck comes in through the door, it will go out the back. So he bought a great apartment, but the one flaw in it is that it does have a door that will open up to the back. So when he opens it, he's like, but it's an easy problem to fix. I just closed the middle door. But he lives by that, right? If the front door is open, that middle door is not open, right? This is an executive for a bank, right? So so as far as incorporating that, what you should probably do is do some research, baseline research on what some of the superstitions are, and then just add them into the game to again create that feeling of like otherness, right? Because that's what you're going for, is you want this to feel different. So you want people to be constantly doing things to prevent bad luck. Like I was just telling you, like you notice the guy close the door because he doesn't want the bad luck to go out. You want people to be, you pass by a graveyard and people are putting out bowls of rice with the chopsticks stuck in the bowl, so that the relatives can also partake of the feast. You want to constantly be adding little bits and flavors of that superstition, so that people you have that superstitious feeling.
Yes.
Okay. All right, in the back.
I don't know. I think he might be pretty lucky doing that. He's an executive for a bank.
Yeah, exactly.
It works.
It works.
Well, that means that he's got the feng shui probably going in the apartment, which is because that's what feng shui is. It's arranging the stuff arranging your things to affect the flow of the energy the way you want it to go. So if you really, if there's a door here and there's a door there, you don't want the energy to go, you make sure that you put like your couch there, or you put something there to make it move in another direction and stay in your apartment. I mean, that's what feng shui actually is.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he told me that when they constructed their building, their newer building, it's kind of old now, but they took feng shui into account. So they sat down with the architects and were like, no, you have to make this change because of this. And you have to make this change because of this. This is a massive building, okay? Multiple, 20, 30 stories tall. And they're telling the architect, no, this is not going to work. You're going to bring bad luck to our business.
Yeah.
The Indian brand, they had to change the lion's head because no one would go through the mouth into the hotel because of superstition.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes, over here.
On the topic of like energy flow and such, like how would you present like the concept of like chi in like an art music or something?
So.
Like what is that even? Like explain it to me.
So the concept, it actually, and it's been borrowed and by other cultures, or I don't even know if it's been borrowed, but even if it was maybe just parallel philosophies. But basically there are like ley lines of energy that kind of flow through the world, and that's the thing. It's like, so usually energy moves in a straight line. So you have to make sure that something is in its way to make it direct itself towards you, and that's a lot what feng shui is. Chi is also acupuncture and martial arts and all that stuff. You have your own inner chi. You also are kind of trying to draw the chi in with your breathing. You're trying to breathe it in from the environment. Chi is power. Chi is it's the force. It's the force, basically.
Okay, so for personal chi, is that what you're asking about, or are you talking about like?
Well, because there's personal and then there's environmental.
Which one are you talking about? Okay, so for personal chi, that is everyone's personal energy, which I think everybody can understand, right? Because you're moving around, you're talking. Try to think of chi as, okay, you're going to take all the energy of your body and put it into a center, okay? And that could be used for various reasons. They could be like, it could be used to calm yourself. It could be, okay, in martial arts, I'm gonna put all my chi into as an extension of my arm into my fist so that I can break this board, right? I'm just gonna take my personal energy of my body and apply it to different things. There's a great movie, because talking about cultural appropriation, that was done absolutely beautifully and wonderfully. And even though some people here may not like it, called Forbidden Kingdom. It's the first movie where Jackie Chan and Jet Li start together. What was so amazing about that movie was it was made by Caucasians as a love letter to the wuxia, industry, and they did a brilliant job. Like everything like you could possibly want in a wuxia film, it's in there. So in that, there's a great talk where they talk about how the word kung fu means hard work. That's how you can think of qi, right? They said that even a butcher can use kung fu to cut the meat, to slide the meat right off the bone. So it's not, qi is not necessarily something that is limited to martial arts. You could be a calligrapher. And there in the movie, I think it's Hero. They talk about that, and they use their inner energy to basically make this beautiful calligraphy. And the idea of it, it gets to mythical proportions, where there was a legend of a Japanese artist who created a dove so lifelike that the dove flew off the page, right? And so that's where you get to the mythology, where you've become so efficient, you can use your energy so well that you can do things like make lifelike statues that actually move, or paintings that actually come to life, that you can do this so that you can reach mythical proportions. And what's interesting is that idea is not limited to Asian culture. You see a lot of that in Ireland, a lot of Celtic cultures. There are people who can weave beautiful songs so amazing that forests grow and things like that. So it's actually very similar to that.
Yeah. There's another question.
Go ahead, Becca.
As far as cultural appropriation and things like that, I think as people we all have a tendency to try to put ourselves in the hero's role, and Asian stuff is cool. And there's a lot of cool cultural things out there, so it's hard not to put myself, I know, in those shoes and become the hero of the story, who uses a lot of kung fu and all that other stuff. And so at what point do you draw the line as far as taking too much of that stuff in? What point does it become campy? At what point are you doing honor to something that you respect? And at what point are you conversely turning it into Pulp Fiction or doing something way over the top?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I thought that Forbidden Kingdom was a really good movie overall. I think that the white guy savior aspect of it was my least favorite of it, because that is kind of a thing that we do here in America, as we make movies where these people they have a problem and we have to go save them. So it was just like, yes, they have, because he was running around in that movie with gods, but he had to be the one to save it. It was just that sort of thing.
This is gonna be this is what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is why I was okay with it. Like, actually more than okay. Because, yes, he's the main character. Okay, fair enough. But he was not the most kick-ass of kick-ass
No,
gods.
he actually kind of sucked.
Yeah, so I like that. And so there were gods who were allowed to be gods, right? At the same time, it would have been also equally cheese if he could do nothing, right? If he just could show up and be a spectator, that would also equally be cheese. But so I like that he had agency, meaning he could affect the storyline.
Yeah.
At the same time, he was not like, hey, I'm the white god here to save you, and everyone else sucks. So I thought that struck a great balance. But that's why I was okay with it.
Well, and that's know your audience, basically.
So does that answer that question?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are we coming?
Full blown Q&A now?
Oh yeah, we have been.
Yeah, we have been for a while.
Like we're almost done now at this point.
Oh, damn, okay, I guess I'll ask my question. Okay, I have one short question, one long question.
Sure.
One, wow, train of thought. Coming back to me, right. I want to integrate some Chinese culture into Serenity RPG, is there's like hints of it
Yeah.
in Firefly, but they don't really ever delve into it. And I was curious what you guys were thinking.
Are you
about
playing?
that.
Are you playing Serenity or Firefly?
Firefly RPG.
Good man.
Yeah.
I, I wrote on some Firefly, so I like that game. I like it better.
The other one is, could you recommend some like more cinematic, numbers light books to start with as far as ancient tabletop gaming goes?
So introducing more Chinese flavor into the world. The weird thing about the Firefly universe is that it is supposed to be that. That's why their name is Simon Tam and River Tam. Like it's Simon, but he has an Asian last name because the alliance is essentially the U.S. and China. They're the alliance. So, and that's why the Chinese kind of using it as curse words and stuff kind of just became part of the setting. Introducing more of that into it, I don't know. I mean, because it's kind of there. Like you have like your old marketplaces. You even have some like what are they called when you have all like the boats all tied together? The boat marketplaces.
Yep.
Yeah, like
Yep.
they even have those where they have a whole bunch of spaceships and stuff all together, and it's there. So so how much more of it is it that you want to put into it?
What I would do, I'm going to give you a bunch of ideas.
Go
you
for
can
it.
pick and choose or reject them all, okay? But I think that's a great idea, like having the boat market, okay? Having little scenes here and there that just kind of bring that back, like the boat market. Have a really aggressive, really rude Chinese merchant who doesn't want to bargain. No, you have to pay this money. But wait, no, that's way too. No, it's not too high. You're just a loser. That kind of thing. Just have little hints here and there. You go to a restaurant and the first thing they do is they lay a bowl of rice in front of you, right? That kind of thing. Just little hints and touches of that culture. Some things to keep in mind about Chinese culture in general. Again, what we talked about with the idea of prestige and face, how people with a huge amount of prestige can force other people to do something. You could add a lot to a campaign just by that aspect, right? Like, whoa, we're not totally free to do whatever we want. We have to do this thing now. Oh, that you can add just hints, touches to the society.
Yeah, the Smuggler's Guide also added in reputation rules that will probably help you out with that quite a bit.
Quick question. 3.5 Ninja, is there a hot fix for the 3.5 Ninja? Because it's just terrible. D&D related.
Oh, okay.
Also, are there any reference sources that you would recommend as far as Asian theme gaming and translating it into homebrew?
I mean, I kind of just, even when we're
How about
designing
the
our
Ninja
own.
Crusade?
Well, the
I'll
Ninja
put on my,
Crusade.
third ideas.
Well, I mean, the Ninja Crusade, my game, I don't know if that's like I don't know if that's a guide to how to do it, but I think we do it really well. So.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Legends of the Five Rings.
Legends of the Five Rings.
That's
yes.
legit. I mean, that's legit. I mean,
Like-
I even like. I haven't seen the latest edition, but I remember the early editions. You could have like basically an Jitsu battle where two samurai line up, swipe, done. That's the end of the fight.
I have died several times in one hit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, I actually really like that. And real quick, I'm just going to go off on a tangent about that. What can be really fun about Jitsu battles in any game system, like even if it's like just Western European D&D, if you roll the dice and you look at the dice and the guy dies in just one swipe, what you do is you go, okay, stop. It's game master. Okay, we know he dies. Okay, we know that's the end of the story. Let's go ahead and build this up. Let's make it cool. And then you have the lotus blossoms, falling, and the guy's like pointing at the player character, like saying all this stuff. You have the player character like come back at him, and they talk and they have the stare down, and then you build up the great scene. You bring up the swelling music, and we know what happens. So then you just narrate and the one guy like just slowly slides to the ground. And so some people are turned off by that because they want to roll lots of dice and do lots of damage. I think the super quick battle can actually be equally cool.
Yeah.
If you do it right. Over here, I don't think we work with you yet.
I'm actually starting up an L5 Fire campaign next month. How is the honor system in that game?
I'm not aware of the latest edition.
I've only played first edition.
Right.
So, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good in first edition.
Yep.
It was pretty accurate too. Most of that game was politics anyway. Like, like every so often you might have to pull your sword and kill somebody in one swipe. But for the most
Right.
part, like it was mostly politics.
In the back.
Yeah, related to the D&D 3.5 yeah, deities and demigods. Well, I've read a review. It had a few proofs in it. Tomu stands out, and I'm just wondering if you had any words on where exactly that went wrong. Because she went from what is essentially a goddess of the Big Dipper to a demon queen in hell.
I don't have much opinion on that.
I don't.
Sorry.
And we only have a couple more minutes. So,
So last question right here.
last question. Yep.
So actually, my thing is horror gaming. I love horror gaming, and you know, like action adventures sort of have their own narrative. But what would make a game like you were talking about making this Jade Demon story, which would totally be up my alley? How do you convey sort of the horror themes or tropes or whatever in Asian
Oh
culture?
man. All right.
I think that's all. Yeah, I think that's also one of those. That's a long end. We could have a whole
Yeah.
panel on that.
Yeah.
Because Japanese horror and like Asian horror
Yes.
is completely different than
Yes.
horror over here. You know, like one of my favorite kind of things, and I actually wrote it up in Part-Time Gods, was what was it called? It was called a jininenki. And it's a Japanese demon that like eats dead bodies and then tries to assume their forms. So that's an interesting one. And then there was one called the Monitamon Doll, and I believe that one's where's that? I think that one's from Thailand. And that one is it's this creature whose tongue is like a straw and can go super long. So it basically goes in through the cracks in your house. And it drinks, and it goes into a pregnant woman's belly and drinks the blood of a fetus. Yes, and then if you catch it, it only operates at night, so it's kind of vampire-ish. If you catch it, it will cut its midsection off, and it will leave its legs behind, and it spreads wings and flies away. You know, it's just like, wait, what is that? Like, I don't even get that. But it's crazy scary, like, to think of something like that exists, but that didn't come from the mind of a Westerner. You know what I mean? So horror is completely different.
So yeah, definitely look at a lot of Chinese horror, and we don't have a lot of time, but so one thing you can add to that, one of my favorite elements to add, we did this in Witch Hunter. Okay, in Western culture, when it comes to horror, most people are skeptical, right? There's a ghost in my closet. Yeah, right, whatever. Oh no, my house is haunted. What is really cool to do for Asian culture is because it's so superstitious, to flip it. So people believe you. And that doesn't make it better, that makes it actually worse. Like, there's my house is haunted. What? Well, don't associate with me. You're gonna bring bad spirits on me. But I need help. No, go away. You know, so you're not gonna serve me food. No, your house is haunted. Get away. You know, so it actually makes it worse because everyone is so superstitious, right? If you watch the movie The Eye, they talk about that, right? Like there are people who are superstitious, and so you can really play with that element, the fact that people are actually willing to believe, and what happens is the people you talk to in the game, they get scared, and when they get, when old granny wise woman gets scared, then the players get scared. Wait a minute, you mean this wise person who's going to solve our problems is scared?
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, thank you guys for coming.
Thank
It was
you.
a great talk.